Is right.
Hello, welcome to Follow Everton. We're live here for the Merseyside Derby preview. I've got Stevie with me, and if you're just joining us, thank you very much for sharing your Saturday afternoon with us. So, Steve, how are you feeling ahead of tomorrow's crunch match?
Not looking forward to it at all, Ryan. I don't think any Evertonian will be. I think most people have got the opinion right now that they just want to get it over and done with. It may sound negative, but what I'm worried about most is getting so badly battered that it affects the rest of the season. I think everyone knows that I think Everton have won 3 times at Anfield in the last 25 years. And this would be, I think, our 19th defeat of the season, which is a record. I think everyone knows where this is heading, and we don't need to spell that out. I think the problem is that if we get tanked 4-5-6-0-1, that's going to affect the rest of the season in terms of confidence and our goal difference, which could be actually crucial come the end of the season.
I think you make a really good point there, and I'm kind of sighing internally thinking about it. Actually, the goal difference with Burnley is going to come into really imperative. It's going to become of pertinent importance because you look at that. I think they got plus 28. We may be on. Sorry, it's not plus 28, of course. I think it's like minus 28. What actually is the goal difference?
There's a few now between the two sides, right? And I'll get that up in a second. But Mark Lawrenson said he predicted that Everton wouldn't keep out Liverpool and it would be 2-0. I'd snap your hand off at 2-0 now. I know that wouldn't be a good result because we'd lose, but to not get so badly defeated with a team that's, let's face it, they're going after all 4 trophies. Liverpool right now are, well, how doesn't matter how sick we think this is. They are playing an elite level football that even the very best sides like Man City are struggling with at times. The goal difference between Everton and Burnley is Everton have a minus 19 and the Burnley have minus 17, so we're already a bit behind them.
Yeah.
But I want us to go out and try and win the game. And I was thinking about this, Ryan. I mean, how would you set up the team for this so that Lampard? Do you think Lampard will have the right way of going about this, or do you think he's going to put them out to try and nick a point? I mean, how would you even set up the team for this? I've been thinking about this today. Is what do you do? We won there last season. Let's not forget that we won there. That's got to be one of the ticks in our box. Other than the fact that it's not a long road trip, I haven't really got that many things to shout about. And also, we nicked a point right at the end of the match in midweek. So I think the fact that we got that point and we kept plugging to the end actually means we're going into this next game with a bit more confidence than we would if we'd lost 1-0 against Leicester.
Well,
I just don't know how to set up the team. I haven't got the answer. I mean, do you play a back? You play a back 10. Do you play a back 5? A couple of holding midfielders. They're going to have a lot of the ball, Ryan. Let's face it. It's at Anfield. The best we can do really is try and stifle them, get at them, and try and take the game into the second half because we don't want the game to be over early. And Klopp is fantastic with his sending his teams out to make sure that they win the game quite comfortably by not allowing it to even go close. So often Liverpool are 2, 3 or more goals ahead in the first half, and the City game in the semi-final for them wasn't the first time they've done that. Everton, what answer will they have? I really don't know. But we've made so many individual mistakes that I think that's the first thing we've got to look at is cutting out individual mistakes. And then we've got to look at how we can take the game to them, because if we might not be able to play them at their own game, but if we just sit back for 90 minutes, that's just not going to work. And we probably will end up with the Mark Lawrence score 2-0 or something like that. So we've got to find a way, staying in the game, taking the game deep, frustrating them, frustrating the crowd. But no one's really found a way around trying to play Liverpool. Let's not forget this time last season, Liverpool went on a run, 6 defeats at home in a row, but they're flying high. The only thing I can say is that Liverpool have not won many of their Sunday matches. I was looking at a stat earlier, and on a Sunday, I think Liverpool have won something like 2 and 9. I'll confirm that in a minute. But they're not quite as hot on a Sunday, and that probably won't play into their mind. But I'm just looking for reasons to stay positive, really. And and to think how we might go about getting a point. I think it's wild to think that we're going to get all three this time. But yeah. So basically, it's 2 of the last 7 Liverpool have won on a Sunday.
I think you've asked me a lot of questions. You made some good points there as well. Obviously, you've got Ramadan. I think that affects the teams. I don't know how Mo Salah and Sadio Mane have been able to play every single game, even though it's Ramadan, and not being able to eat before playing. That's
Well,
pretty.
did you see the article, Ryan, about how at some point they're going to have a crash because to play at the level they're playing at, they must be taking on, caffeine, and they're pushing themselves so hard. But
Don't
I believe that with intermittent fasting, it sometimes can give you more energy. I mean, Sadio Mane is amazing. As I hate to say that, but he's amazing. He runs back, he tackles back, left back. He's got the energy of a Ghanaian distance runner. Everton haven't got anyone like that. He looks like he's got energy to burn. I wouldn't worry about food for him.
I don't want to fixate too much on them. I think everyone knows here, sitting watching, everything about them inside out. I want to focus on us in the short time I've got, and obviously Ramadan, and the point was making was Decore is one player for us that has sat out because of Ramadan, whereas they're playing. So I think there is a difference in the level of preparation. I'm going to come to the team news in a minute. But you made a really good point on the goal difference. Obviously, it's really important not to get battered at Anfield 4-5-0, and then that goal difference becomes effectively another point to Burnley. And really, I don't think Frank Lampard's style will be to sit back and soak up pressure. I'll give you my team. I'll give you the team I think he'll go with in a moment as well.
Of course, Lampard has won there as a player, which makes a big difference.
It makes no difference whatsoever, to be honest with you. I don't think it makes any difference. A lot of players have won at Anfield. He's an inexperienced manager, and for him to mastermind something tomorrow will be amazing. And I don't see it happening. I think there's just too much of a difference between the clubs. And when I say that, I don't even talk about on a footballing sense. I think the preparation's completely different. I think the application is obviously miles apart. The attitude between the two sets of players, Liverpool and Everton, is wide apart. Everton.
But when you're winning game after game and challenging for all trophies, there's an extra spring in your step in training.
But a different level of preparation as well. I mean, you look at the little niggly injuries. I'm going to come to them in a minute, but the teams are miles apart. And you think this time last year, Everton went to Anfield expectant to win, and I think now everyone would bite your hand off just for a point. And I think that would, it would stop them potentially winning the league and also potentially keep us up. So it's absolutely massive. I don't see this as a free hit. I see this as a game you've got to try and do something with, because I don't think it's Lampard's style to sit back in a low block for 90 minutes.
Yeah, and if we don't get up for this one, we'll never get up for a match. This has got to be it for those reasons that you've outlined. Not only our own relegation battle, but stopping them from the winning the title.
What I do think is that there's no greater motivation than Mo Salah saying in the end in his post-match interview against Man United that this will be an easier game. I would show that clip to them over and over, but really, the players individually are worth more than the sum of their parts. They go to international clubs, they've played for the teams and been effective, so they won't. They shouldn't have fear. If they play with fear, it will be over before a ball is kicked, and that's happened far too many times. I'll talk about the team news. I'll also talk about what Frank Lampard said in his press conference. I'll give you my team, and I'll give you my opinion on what Frank Lampard will do, and then I will let you know what I think we should do to even try and get something there. If you've got any comments, please fire away. I know there's a few of you watching, so thanks for joining us on this stream. Much appreciated, and make sure you like and subscribe. So Frank Lampard said that unfortunately Donny van der Beek and Andre Gomez will be missing with small injuries. This is despite neither of them playing in the last game. So this is a completely innocuous injury, and this comes back to what I said about preparation. I'm convinced these players do not look after their bodies and do not prepare as well as they could, because there's just no way you can get this amount of injuries without even being involved in the game and having contact injuries. These are farcical. So Gomez and Van der Beek are out. Obviously, Nathan Patterson still with a long-term injury will be missing. Aside from that, you've got Calvert-Lewin with another knock, which I think is a huge, huge miss. on paper, but obviously from what we've seen of him this season, when he has been available, it hasn't been anything to inspire really the fan base. And obviously Solomon Rondon there becomes in contention after his cameo against Leicester City. So there's a few injuries, but there's nothing too major. He has got a full options at centre half, guys. He's got Yerry Mina's back, whether he'll be risked again after playing midweek, and then Michael Keane, who was left out against Leicester, well rested, hasn't played for 2 weeks. Also Ben Godfrey and Mason Holgate, and he's of course got John Joe Kenny and Seamus. Obviously Patterson's out, but there's a couple of options, not an awful lot at full back, but certainly at centre half there's options there. Now the injury to Van der Beek is disappointing, I think, because he might have had a look in with Decore potentially missing and being on the bench, with Ramadan again seems to be left on the bench due to that in recent games. So whether Alan Iwobi and Delph will play again remains to be seen, but there isn't a lot of options in that central midfield area. And obviously Andros Townsend is out, so it's a case of Anthony Gordon, Richarlison, and Damari Gray on the wing. So really, they're actually, it doesn't sound like there's many options, as I perhaps alluded to a moment ago. There are a few injuries, but I think the team will pick itself really for Frank Lampard by the fact that he knows what he's going to come against Liverpool. It's going to be 4-3-3, wingers pushing on very narrow for Liverpool, effectively playing with 3 central strikers, and then the 2 fullbacks will bomb on, and the 3 central midfielders, Fabinho, who's got a yellow card in him, and Thiago and Jordan Henderson will be in the midfield 3, and I think he'll go with Joel Matip. So there are a couple of areas with that Liverpool team that I think you could exploit. I think that team is set in stone. I think that's what he'll play. The space that Alexander Arnold will leave him behind when he rampages forward, the same with Robertson, but I think Van Dijk covers that really well. Also, the fact that there is only 3 in midfield, so when the Liverpool 3 press, it's getting that ball into midfield, Everton's midfield, quite quickly to turn over, to outnumber them. And also the high line that Liverpool play with that team. And I think although we don't have the players from deep who can perhaps spread the ball and pick that pass in behind, there are spaces there to exploit. If Everton could perhaps get Damari Gray playing on the shoulder of the space between where Trent Alexander-Arnold and Joel Matip would be, I think that's possibly the only way we could exploit them and that high line. So obviously that's the team news. In terms of what team I think we will go with, I think Frank will go with a 5 at the back. I think Michael Keane will come in and partner Yerry Mina with Ben Godfrey on the left-hand side of a 3. With Michaelenko and Seamus Coleman as auxiliary wing backs. And then in midfield, I think it'll be a base of Alan and Fabian Delph in their 2 sitting midfielders. And then I think you'll see 3 up front, but they're not really going to play up front. And that'll be Richarlison off the left, Anthony Gordon on the right, and it will be Solomon Rondon up front. And I think I could put a house on that, really, that team coming in. I think it has been dictated to him by the injury.
How certain do you think Rondon is nailed on?
Nailed on to start, because I think someone needs to the centre backs and try and hold the ball up. I'm pretty certain
there's nothing to lose, really, is there, by playing Rondon, because he had an impact coming on against Leicester. He was given a lot of stick by Everton fans when he first was brought into the team.
Yeah,
and possibly unfit, but he has made an impact. And one thing that he does is he runs for the shirt. And I think if he can throw himself about, if we don't play with Rondon, the danger is that the ball will just ping pong back to us, to our half.
If you actually look at the game at Goodison Park, Everton were quite good at times going forward. They played with a 4-4-2, and Richarlison and Rondon actually occupied Liverpool quite well. And I think it was just the crucial things that we failed to do against them on many occasions, which is stop the transition, which is basically when we lose the ball at the top end of the field, stop it coming quickly back at us while we're outnumbered. And conceding goals from our own corner, that sort of thing that we're good at doing against them. So to answer your question, I think Rondon will start, whether it's a 4-4-2. I doubt. I do think it works going forward at home. I just don't think we perhaps had the personnel and the pace in the back line to recover. But look, Frank might completely have his own ideas about this and might want to change it completely. But we did see the win last season under Carlo against effectively the same team we're going to be playing tomorrow. was a
Well,
five.
apart from Gylfi Sigurdsson, who also scored the second goal.
It was a 4-4-2 diamond, I think, actually.
Mm,
Dickinson on the left of the four. Gomez
mm.
made
We actually only had 28% of possession that match. So we were behind the ball. I mean, so if we can play like that, wonderful. I mean, sure, he's going to put the video on. He's got to. We had as many shots on target as them, but it's different. We hadn't gone through that transition in managers, and the awful confidence knocking run that we've had with so many defeats. I mean, when you keep losing, it becomes a habit, Ryan.
The
That's
thing
the
is,
problem.
there's no mystery about what Liverpool are going to do in this game and their style of play and the players they're going to play. I
Mm.
don't know what Everton's style of play is or how they play. I don't think we play good football. I think we play awful football. I think we're not very good defensively. We're not very good going forward. There's no creativity. We're not great from set pieces. And it's really sad because individually you look at the players and you go, Alan signed from Napoli, excellent Champions League player. And I look through them and I think, why is it not working? And I don't think that perhaps there's the time to start assessing things. I think tomorrow we've got to try and nick a point. We've got to try and cobble something together. Stop their title challenge. I think really that would be amazing. I mean, I'd run naked down the street if we got a point tomorrow because I think that could be the difference
I might
between
hold you to that actually.
and staying up and also stopping them potentially win the league, which would be unbearable. Them winning the league and us going down in the same season, and I think that is still a very, very likely outcome because I think Man City will drop points. I'm sorry to say that. I hate saying it. It's fucking shite. And everyone's feeling miserable about it, but it's a realistic possibility. So, in terms of the team that you would pick, Stephen, we've talked about Lampard potentially 5-2-3. It really is a 5-4-1, really out of possession. What? Obviously, that is perhaps dictated to by the lack of players available. There's arguments there, though, to actually start Decore and keep Iwobi in the team. And in that case, how do you try and shoehorn those players in, and what sort of system would you go for?
There was a lot of questions there. I've been thinking about this. I think you're right about Allen and Delph as going to be the sitting players. He's got to try and get us into their faces quite quickly because Liverpool play with that high press and the intensity every game. Everton need to start like that. Everton need to start with the intensity from day one and really get the crowd working in our favour, and also stifle them. We're going to need to ride our luck, no doubt. There will
Just
be
give me the team, Stephen.
So my team is Mikolenko, Kenny, Mina, and Godfrey, and then I would have the sitters as Alan and Delph, and I would have Gordon, Rondon, and Richarlison up front. The question is, do you play the 4-4-2 or the 5-3-2, 5-2-3?
There are strong arguments to play Gray and Iwobi and Decore.
Yeah, I was thinking about Gray. Gray is
out.
the one. I mean, it's just whether you play too many fair players, or you play another defender. I don't want to see Keane in the team for this one.
Or Holgate.
And I don't have Holgate. So you play the 4, obviously then that restricts getting forward, but then we could play Damari Gray in that. I'd like to see that. I mean, we might as well go for it.
You've changed your tune because you were saying don't go for it. Stephen, I just don't see a 4 at the back working against Liverpool. I think times when you do that, you play with 3 narrow strikers.
Yeah. So who do you play, Holgate or Braith? Do you play Holgate or do you play Keane? Because you've got to play one more.
He could go with the Branthwaite, Keane, and Mina. I think honestly, I do expect him to play 3 at the back.
He could put Coleman in there, but that would be a surprise.
He's not going to play John Joe Kenny. I don't know. He could play Holt.
No, he could play He could play Coleman as the 3, and then Kenny on the right.
What I'm saying is, on paper, he's got the players to play 5 at the back or 3 at the back now.
He's got the defenders, but as we've proven, they're not gelling and they're making mistakes all over the shop. But at least they're not Harry Maguire.
Verily menial, concede no goals. We've tried things like that before. A couple of areas that I do want to touch on for
I mean, I
this.
would like to see Decore in this match, Ryan, but
I
whether
would,
we.
but got the Ramadan problem. It is a problem. I would like to see
Why is
Decore.
it a problem for us, but not for others? That's the thing.
Exactly. That's what I said to you.
Everyone's metabolic rate is different, and some people are more risk than others to collapsing. It's an earlier kickoff, so there's less. I suppose there's less fasting, but I'm
That's
not
what
an
I said
expert.
to you. It's not that
Sorry.
early kickoff actually, but that's what I said to you. It's a problem. Sunrise is at 5 a.m. So even if he got up at 4 in the morning and had something to eat before and went back to sleep,
I think
uh,
we'll all be up at 4 in the morning worrying about the match.
But you got to think about it pragmatically. Decore he can't eat from sun. I think it's sunrise to sunset. I'm not too familiar. I'm sorry if I've got that wrong, but it means that potentially getting up at 4:30 to have his breakfast, and then not doing anything and not being able to eat till 9:30 at night. So it's really difficult. I don't know how it works. There must be some footballers who found a way of adapting to do this or a way around it. Because look at Mo Salah and Sadio Mane. I don't think, in fairness, neither of them like play. They could easily play Jota and Diaz and still be as effective, which is quite sickening, really. Because at least you knew before they had three decent players, and now they've got a plethora of forward options and midfielders.
Decore's he's quite a big guy. He's fairly tall. He's quite robust. I mean, Salah and Mane are maybe a little bit lighter on their feet. I mean, I know Decore is box to box as well, but he's a bigger guy than them. So maybe he needs the fluids. I wouldn't want to play Merseyside Derby
Everyone.
on an empty stomach, but then
Uh,
I probably won't be eating much tomorrow.
I want to
Yeah,
touch
I
on
mean,
a couple of things for people watching who are going to looking for positives and how can we beat Liverpool? Maybe. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what me or Steve think about lineups. It's going to be. I've given you the
just to
options.
let you know, Ryan, I've got the team from last season just so we can see how different it is, so that we know we can work out. Lucadina was out, obviously left the club. Gomez won't be playing because he's got an innocuous injury stroke. He's not good enough. Davis is out. Decore is out. So the entire midfield aren't going to be playing that were playing last year. And we played a back five. We had Ding on the left. We have Coleman on the right. Then we had Godfrey, Keane, and Holgate. Now, on that basis and the fact we won last year, you might be more tempted to play one of Keane or Holgate.
I don't know how we
Remember,
did that actually because you look at that team, and I remember that match.
Rodriguez was
We
up
did
front.
surrender possession and allow them to play basically around our 18-yard box and then try.
We
and
had
head.
28% of the ball. We played 5-3-2.
I don't know how we did that. Yeah, 5-3-2. For some reason, I thought it was a 4-4-2 diamond, but at first it was a five. I was thinking 5-3-2, which is
Sigurdsson came on and then scored the pen, didn't he?
yeah, because the problem was very clear that they played around us, tried to draw our sort of wing backs out. I don't know. I don't know whether we can get away with that again. I'll be honest with you. I think
Their team had Curtis Jones, Firmino, Wijnaldum, Alcantara, Kabak. It was a different team to what's going to be set out there tomorrow. Also, Liverpool were on a bit of a roller coaster ride at home. There were no fans, and they were suffering at home. So look, it's a different game. Come tomorrow, I just really hope that we give it our all and that we make the team proud, because every single goal, every single point is now counting quite big right now, and we might go into the game, Ryan, in the relegation zone because Burnley play before us.
and Burnley look like they're going to drag
Play
themselves
Watford.
out.
They play Watford, but then Burnley might be thinking the same about Everton. They might be thinking Everton are going to drag themselves out of this.
I don't want to fixate on the whole relegation thing right now because it's just depressing, and I think people are not going to like what I'm going to say. So I'm going to just stick on this game, try and be positive. How can we get at Liverpool? Well, I haven't watched an awful lot of Liverpool this season at the start because I've just switched off from football in general when it's not Everton playing, because it is quite hard to watch other teams in any sort of football match when your team's not doing. For example, I bought FIFA 22 and I played it twice since it came out in October. That's how disinterested I am. But obviously, having this YouTube channel and going to Everton home and some away games, I put the content out there. I'm watching and know everything about Everton. So, in terms of Liverpool, I have seen them a bit. Certainly in recent weeks in preparation for the derby and over the years, and I know exactly how they're going to play. How can we stop them? Well, they've got a very, very high line. We've got to try and find a way of getting players in behind into that space. And I think Damari Gray and Anthony Gordon are the two that could be the most effective at that. We've also got to try and pack the midfield and the box and stop them getting these low balls in across the face of goal, really protect those areas of the pitch. Now, very classic tactics. Every time the ball goes out for a throw in, take your time. 20 seconds just to pick the ball up. Corners, time waste, every little thing. Fake injuries, niggly fouls. Don't give stupid fouls away around the edge of the box. But break up play where you need to, and be prepared to be shit houses effectively to get a result. I would call it the classic doing a job on someone to just avoid defeat. Go in there, and I'm surprised teams don't do that. They go naive, and the thing with Liverpool, you know how they're going to play. No one's found a way of exploiting that. But on paper, the high line, you've got to have someone who can play the pass and someone who can run in behind and score. I don't know whether we've got that, but we have to try and find a way of exploiting those spaces that the fullbacks leave, stifling the play. And I think if we can get through the first 10 minutes, I think that's massive to settle us down. And you've got the home fans for Liverpool who've all flying in from Norway. I think there's 5 flights today. Try and quieten them. The happy-go-lucky touristy atmosphere. Try and stifle that quite quickly by letting their fans get on Liverpool's cases, because we are breaking up play and we are making a battle of it and a fight of it, and we are time wasting and we are doing things that quieten the crowd. And then after that, once we've settled in, then have a little go, try and get on the ball. And that's where you'd look to someone like Andre Gomez or Van der Beek to try and dictate play and help us. But and Sigurdsson obviously is still on bail, so we're missing these massive players from last season or signed this season. I just think we have to settle early. If we concede early, I think it's game over. I just think we can't see us getting back in, but stay in the game as long as we can, and fingers crossed. But listen, guys, you know, it's expected that we are going to lose. These are professional footballers. You've got to have some trust in them to know what they're doing. I think personally they are the most brainless bunch of footballers that I've ever played for Everton. And I'm nearly 29 years of age, and the only team that I've seen, these are the thickest people I've ever. They make very bad decisions, and it is unbearable. But got to have some trust in them. It's like Steve is a web designer. He might do a crap website one day, but then you've got to put the trust in him, because at the end of the day, he knows what he's talking about in certain fields. The same way that you might have a doctor, you might make a mistake, or I don't know, but you trust them because that's just what they do. I'm trying to reassure myself, trust the players on the pitch tomorrow, have a little bit of faith, try and not get sucked into it. And if we lose, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you as a fan can do about Everton being this bad, or about Liverpool doing what they do. And with Liverpool, the thing that annoys me, I think, on a personal level, is I've accepted they are brilliant over the past few years. I think no one can argue with that. But what really winds me up is even when they don't play well, something happens. You know, away at Man City 2-2, they should have had about 9 men on the pitch, and there was a goal or whisker ruled out for Man City. Little things always go for them. VAR, decisions and cards, they don't get sent off. You know, they're untouchable. And I look at these sorts of things and I think even when they don't play, they find a way to get a result. And that's the sickening thing about it. And we just have to do that tomorrow, because I doubt we will play well, and we just have to get a result. Steve, have you got anything else you want to touch on before we wrap things up on here?
I think you've hit the nail on the head with most points, Ryan. I think that it's now down to the players as they cross the white line, and hopefully they do the business, and that we can jump on the channel and feel good about the performance, whatever the result.
Well, I'm telling you now, it's unlikely I'll be on the channel after the game tomorrow unless we win, because I'm not doing it.
We'll see which one of us is the most brave. Providing we keep the score within a few, I'm sure we'll be doing a video.
Within a few. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you, Stevie, for your wonderful input and your thoughts and insight.
Thank you. See you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, Steve. Thanks again. Much appreciated. Brilliant.